Hey, I hope you're all doing well today. I know this is a very different type of video from the normal type of video that I make. And considering the context and subject matter of this video, I know in most videos I'm rather like loud and energetic. So in this one, I'm going to try to, keep myself calm. I'm going to try to keep my delivery calm. Just, gonna keep things as chill as possible. But anyway, before we get into this video, I'm sure this video is going to attract new viewers or different kinds of viewers. So I'll just kind of go ahead and introduce myself. For those of you that are new to the channel, my online alias is Grotesque, but my real name is Nathan. Over the years, I've been diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, and major depressive disorder. The main one we'll be talking about today, obviously, though, is anxiety. Before we start talking about my experiences and my past with anxiety and stuff like that, I just really wanted to get this message out there because I know, people's attention spans aren't too great nowadays. So just in case you don't make it all the way to the end of the video, which is normally where I'd say something like this, I'll go ahead and just put it in right at the beginning. If you're struggling with anxiety or if you're just struggling with anything, period, just know that you are not alone. And just in case nobody else has said it to you today, you are absolutely beautiful. I am very proud of you and I love you. So let's go ahead and talk about my past with anxiety and my first anxiety attack. So I remember my first anxiety attack was actually in a movie theater. I'm still not sure what caused it, if it was just one of those things, because, for anybody that actually has anxiety, they know that it doesn't just have to be a stressful situation that triggers an anxiety attack. Sometimes you'll be sitting there and you'll think everything is fine and all of a sudden it's just boom, anxiety attack, and it's just like that. You could be sitting there chilling, eating with your family, heck, you could just be sitting there having a calm and casual conversation on the phone with a friend, and then all of a sudden, doo-doo, 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 and it feels like the walls are caving in, you feel like you're gonna go insane. I feel like that's one of the biggest misconceptions about anxiety too. Like, so many people think, well, what's stressing you out? What's triggering it? Sometimes there doesn't have to be a trigger. Some days your anxiety is just bad for absolutely no reason at all. It's very similar to depression in the way that it doesn't necessarily have to be a certain thing making you sad or a certain thing bringing you down. It can literally just be as simple as, well, today's a bad day for my anxiety. I woke up, had a panic attack, and that's just kind of how it's going today. There's also another misconception that, it's real easy to ground yourself or, just do the 5 steps, the 5 things you can see, 4 things you can like, that does help to a certain extent to ground yourself, but sometimes, like when your anxiety is bad, sometimes all you can really do is ride it out. And, it sucks when it gets to that level, but sometimes, like when it's that bad, that's really the only solution. And like I said, to a certain extent, those other things and strategies and medicines can help, but for me personally, I'm not much of a medicines guy. I've tried medications before, they aren't for me, and personally, I don't know, I'm the type of guy, I don't like taking medications, period. I'd rather just ride it out and deal with my cluster of a head, you know what I mean? I don't know, there's so many side effects to those medications, and before you know it, you're taking one medication, then a side effect pops up, and then you have to take another medication, and that's where I was at. I was like taking like 4 different medications at one point. I was like, dude, I feel like a zombie at this point. I'd like, even though sure I still have to deal with those things like my depression, like my anxiety, at least I feel human. I'm not encouraging anybody to do the same though. Like, this goes on a person by person basis. If you personally don't feel like you need medication, then that's okay. However, I would always highly recommend at least trying medication to see if it's for you, as well as trying other things like therapy, which I've tried like 5 different therapists. Always try any and every solution that is handed to you, and that goes for me as well. If they end up making some miracle drug down the line, I mean, even then, I personally, I probably still won't end up doing it, but I mean, heck, if one day I'm old and decrepit and my anxiety is that bad and I literally get the shakes nonstop and they have a miracle drug out there, heck, even I might at least try it to see what it's all about. That being said, let me get back on track here. Yeah, my first anxiety attack, I remember, I was at a movie theater. I can't even remember how old I was, but I was not that old. I was actually pretty young. All I remember, it was one of the Alvin and the Chipmunks movies, I think, but I was in the movie theater and I started having this anxiety and I started feeling like almost sick because of it. That's one of the things that happens to me. It's like, it's really hard to explain. It's almost like I start feeling sick and then my heart starts pounding and then I start feeling really, it's like my fight or flight going in overdrive, which I guess to a certain extent that is what anxiety is, but it's like, it's my fight or flight and all of my senses just going berserk all at once. And that's what was happening to me in that theater. I don't know. I felt like the walls were caving in. I had that feeling like I need to get out of here. I need to get outside. If you guys have ever seen Iron Man 3, that's honestly kind of how my anxiety attacks are. That part where he's like at the diner and he just like went outside immediately. My anxiety attacks usually aren't that bad to the point where I'm literally like collapsing on the ground. It's never anything as bad as like what Tony Stark was dealing with. Usually, at least, I've had a couple of those like that, unfortunately though. Usually mine only get that bad if I'm out in public. When I'm in public, that's when it's really really bad. But anyway, I keep getting off track. I'm sorry. See, this is another thing with my head. I don't know. I'm all over the place. I usually end up getting back to my topic of conversation, but I don't know. My head's just all over the place. I remember that was the first time where I was like, I at the time I didn't even know it was anxiety. I didn't find that out until years later when I was diagnosed with it, and then I was talking to a doctor about it. They were like, "Yeah, bud, that was an anxiety attack," and you were like, way too. I mean, obviously, there's no such thing as too young, but I was definitely, I shouldn't have been experiencing them that young. But that ties into another thing that I did want to touch on in this video is my anxiety. It leeches off of my other mental disorders. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I have PTSD, I have OCD, and I also have depression. And sometimes when I'm having bad days and my depression's going crazy or my OCD's going crazy or I'm in the middle of a PTSD attack or whatever it is, sometimes those things feed into each other, which then leads to my anxiety flaring. Like I don't even know how to explain it in my brain. It's just like all these different things that go crazy on a given day. And honestly, in recent years, I've gotten really good at getting a control of my emotions, like in terms of like various PTSD attacks or, my OCD flaring up or, my depression, messing with my head. Honestly, I haven't dealt with any of that in at least a year or two. I've kind of picked up like that samurai mindset. I'm not trying to make a joke out of any of this. I'm just, this is genuinely like what I've been doing to kind of like, help myself out or get myself in a better spot. I've been kind of like adopting that samurai mindset of like, if you guys have ever played like Ghost of Tsushima, kind of like what they talk about in that game of like being a master of your emotions and stuff like that. And I've honestly gotten really good at that. Like even like my most severe of mental disorders, like with my PTSD and my depression and stuff like that, like even my OCD to a certain extent, that one I still really struggle with. But, I've gotten good at like shutting things down and mastering my emotions and, stopping things before they get to the extent of having a full-on attack. Sometimes, obviously, there's only so much I can do. Usually, my best strategy is like when I know there's a trigger around or whenever I feel like something has been triggered in my brain is like, attacking it then, like or not attacking it, but rather like, taking control of it at that moment before it leads into a full-on attack. Otherwise, but I have to be like very timely about it because if I bottle it up or if I let it go for too long, then yeah, that's when I end up like how I was this morning. And that was actually the inspiration for this video. So, I was going to save this until later, but I have some notes jotted down here that I was going to try to follow throughout this video, but just to help me have like at least a somewhat general structure to help keep things organized. But my brain started to do what it does best and I've been all over the place in this video and I sincerely apologize about that. But that was actually the inspiration for this video. So this morning, I haven't had too much anxiety lately. The most anxiety that I've had is just, whenever I'm dealing with stuff in the home with my family or whenever I've been out at like the grocery store, for example, I get a lot of anxiety whenever I'm out in public and stuff like that. Like in the grocery store, especially for some reason, it always happens to be when I'm about to check out. Whenever I get up to the checkout aisle, that's when it hits. Like usually when I'm out shopping, like I'm okay for the most part. I'm usually still on edge, still pretty alert, more alert than I should be. But then when I get to the checkout aisle, it's just next thing you know, I'm up there trying to, keep a straight face, trying to, hide the fact that I'm like secretly sweating, trying to not make it obvious that I'm absolutely losing my mind inside as I'm feeling sick and my heart's pounding and I feel like the walls are caving in. I just have that feeling that I need to get outside, but I can't because I'm stuck in the checkout aisle and it's a whole thing. I remember just a couple of weeks ago, I had an anxiety attack so bad that I was literally in tears in the bathroom. Like it wasn't even like, it wasn't just like a general sense of crying. It was just my anxiety was that bad as to where like it was forcing me to tear up. But anyways, yeah, this morning I was just chilling. I was watching YouTube, eating my breakfast as always, as I do every single day, exact same time as I do every single day. And for some reason, I started having an anxiety attack, and it was really bizarre. I had to stop eating because of I started feeling sick. Anxiety while I'm eating is the worst because that ties into another thing that I want to get to then, but we'll get to that. I'm trying to stay organized. I'm sorry, but anyway, yeah, I was eating and then I just started having a panic attack, and thankfully it passed rather quickly. It only lasted for a couple of minutes and I was able to finish my breakfast, and then since then I was able to get a smoothie down, help me get my vitamins and stuff like that, so I'm okay now. But yeah, that was really scary and that really sucked, and I was like, oh my gosh, that really sucks. I haven't dealt with anxiety in my home like that in a while. Obviously when I go out in public, that's one thing, I'm kind of expecting it, but when I'm at home, I haven't dealt with that in like a year or two. So, it was really weird. I thought that I had a grasp on it, but again, it was one of those things where there's not even anything in particular going on. It cropped up out of nowhere. It was the most random thing in the world. Nothing triggered it. There's nothing going on in my personal life right now, really. Everything's been pretty chill lately. So yeah, it really caught me off guard. It was really random. It was kind of scary, but thankfully I'm okay. Everything's all good now. It only lasted for about 5 minutes. The heart palpitations, that feeling of, oh, I need to get out of here and all that. But I fought through it. I finished my breakfast. Then I went outside, just kind of chillaxed, took in the night air because I'm a bit of a night owl. I wake up at like 4 a.m. every morning, and by the time I finished eating, it was around like 5 a.m. or something like that. So I was outside. It was like 5 a.m. and I was just taking in the night air. That's part of why I wake up so early too, because my anxiety is really bad. So I need those first couple hours to myself in the morning every morning, because if I didn't, and if I had to wake up when the world's already awake and everything's all loud, I couldn't do that. But one thing I wanted to touch on is that my anxiety also led to like eating disorders in the past. So I'd get anxiety either every time that I was eating or every time after I'd eat. Therefore, I didn't want to eat for a while. I mean, there was other things that were factoring into that we're not going to touch on in this video, but my anxiety was definitely a part of it. It was definitely like the catalyst, or one of the first things that led to my eating disorder cropping back up, because I've dealt with disorders in the past, but it was definitely like the first thing that like kind of triggered it and made me start eating less in the first place. It wasn't what led to me like going just full on anorexic to the point of where I was literally like 80 pounds a couple years ago. But it was definitely the start of things, which then snowballed into other things. And then, yeah, before you know it, back in 2021, I literally almost died because I was just that underweight. My body was shutting down. Thankfully, as you can see, I'm much healthier now. I'm actually right on the borderline. So I was at 130 before, but I've dropped a bit since then. Right now, I'm literally on the borderline. If I drop even half of a pound, I'll be considered underweight, but I'm happy with where I'm at because I'm not underweight. I'm good. I'm at the good weight. My BMI is good. I can't drop literally a single pound. I've been watching that very carefully. Yeah, I guess my whole point with this is anxiety is crazy, and it can do a lot of unexpected things to you, and it can have an effect on a lot of different things in your life. And if you have other mental disorders, that can snowball and combine with that, and mental disorders in general are a mess. One thing can lead to another. Sometimes certain mental disorders can cause you to like form other ones. I didn't delve too deep in this video into the other things I was originally going to talking about, but I guess I'll rush in them lately. Like anxiety has definitely affected some of my past relationships. I mean, nowadays not so much, because I literally don't leave my room. I'm very antisocial nowadays. I don't really like talking to people outside of my family and stuff like that. But anyways, like back in the day when I used to hang out with like friends, or whenever I used to date, which thankfully I don't do that anymore. I'd be out on dates or whatever, and then, the anxiety would flare up, and that was always really awkward and led to me kind of like ghosting some people, because I was just like, man, yeah, I'm definitely not ready for this. So I'm just gonna close the door on that one before it goes anywhere. And then, I'd be hanging out with friends. We'd just be trying to eat some tacos or just trying to chill and watch a movie. Then the anxiety flares up. And thankfully, my friends were always really good to me. I had like 2 friends when I used to live back up north that we were, nothing could break our bond. We were really close, and to this day we still are. We still keep in touch from time to time. So if either of you two are watching this video, thank you. You guys genuinely got me through a lot. And just in case if you don't know that I'm talking about you, I'll just say like the first letters of their name, J and H. Both of you guys seriously got me through so much. J especially, like, oh my gosh, we'd be chilling on my porch till like 3 a.m. in the morning, just I don't know, I'd have an anxiety attack, then I'd be like, I need to go outside, and that would be at like, 11 p.m., and then we just sit out there for hours and hours and hours just talking and, helping my mind to wander off and not focus on that stuff, especially when I broke my ankle. I had so many anxiety attacks during that time, but J and H, they were both always there, just, help me through it and talking to me about stuff. And yeah, we spent a lot of time on that porch, to say the very least. But not a single time did they ever judge me or criticize me. They did whatever they could to help me, and I really appreciate it. One thing I did want to talk about though is that it's not always all doom and gloom, because like I said, today, it was my first anxiety attack at home in literal years. So, and again, I'm feeling fine now. So, I'm not going to let that ruin anything for me. I'm still going to have a great day today. And one of the benefits about my anxiety, making me all antisocial and not wanting to go out, is that it's allowed me to do what truly makes me happy, because I've always been that way. I've never been the one that likes going out. I kind of like just chilling at home, doing my own thing, playing video games, making YouTube videos, being alone. Most importantly, I don't know, I've always been a really antisocial person. Being around people just makes me feel weird. I'm most comfortable when I'm alone. I don't like people. And through my anxiety, it's helped me realize there's nothing wrong with that. Who cares about the norms of society or the norms that people believe, like, humans should be social or this, that, and the other? It's like, my anxiety has helped me realize that there's no such thing as a norm. There's no such thing as, the right way to live or the right thing to do. It's my life. I'm an adult. I can live and do whatever I want. If I want to sit in my room for the rest of my life, I can do that. If I want to go out, I can do that as well. But now I'm at a point where like my anxiety was so bad so many different times, and as a result, you know, I tended to just kind of stay inside and do my own thing. And then it led me to this point of where this is just how I live now. And I've honestly never been happier. Like it's weird in a way, like my anxiety led me to this point of where I'm doing the stuff that I've always wanted to do, and I've never been happier. Like I'm doing YouTube full time now, which I wouldn't have done before. Like I've always wanted to do YouTube, but like I didn't have the time to put in as much effort as I needed to, or I didn't have as much time as I needed to make the level of quality of content that I wanted and needed to on a daily basis, because I post daily. But due to my anxiety and due to being kind of like stuck up inside because of all that, I was able to put the time in that I needed to. And guess what? The thing that I've been dreaming about doing since I was little, about doing YouTube full time, guess what? Now I'm doing YouTube full time, and you know this is just my life now. I make my YouTube videos, I play my video games, I sit in my room all day, and I love it. I do also make sure to get out, like literally every single day I go outside and run 6 miles, which is equal to 12K steps. Every time I say 6 miles, people are like, what? But it's not that crazy. It's only about 12K steps, which is about 2K more than the recommended 10K. So I'm definitely like healthy physically. I get my sunshine, I get my steps, we're all good. But considering the fact that I spend so much time in my room, I take that very seriously, and I haven't missed a day. I've been running 6 miles a day for almost like, I don't know, something over a year, like almost 2 years at this point. I have never missed a single day. Even when Hurricane Ian was coming through here, I went outside and I ran in a hurricane. I know I've been talking about Asian culture a lot on the channel lately, just because, you know, I don't know, that stuff just really interests me. But, you know, the Chinese believe in something called yin and yang. There is, you know, there can't be light without dark, and there can't be dark without light. And for me, the anxiety was the dark, but the life that I'm living now, and you know, that's the light part of it. Now, don't get the wrong idea. I'm not sitting here and saying that anxiety is a good thing, or that it's been a good thing to me, you know, in general. Like, obviously anxiety is bad, but what I'm saying is, even when things are bad, just stay optimistic, focus on the positives, and you know, that's the positive for me. Even though anxiety is a really bad thing, it led to me doing what I'm doing now and living my happiest life. Yin and yang. There can't be light without dark, and there can't be dark without light. Always remember that. But anyways, yeah, I don't know. I just kind of felt like turning on the camera, rambling for a bit. You know, obviously with everything that happened this morning, this has been on my mind, and I don't know, I just needed someone to talk to. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to me. If you have your own story, or if you have anything you want to say, I'd definitely love to hear from you guys in the comments. This is a safe zone. Whatever you're feeling, whatever you're thinking, just let's talk about it in the comments. Don't hold back. This is our little therapy session. I'll respond and heart every single comment. Again, sorry for this video being so rambly. I had some notes over here that I was trying to follow, but obviously I went way off track and talked about other things. But hey, that's just how it goes sometimes. Again, thank you so much for sitting here and listening to me. But anyway, as always, a shout out to the patrons. Thank you to all my patrons in the $1 tier, and thank you to my big baller patrons, Mellow Last King and Big Daddy Matty. And the biggest thank you of all to my G tier patrons, Little Cheese Carol and Ride and Revengeance. I literally love you guys. You guys are legends. Thank you guys for watching. Have an amazing day. Stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.